YouTubers, today is the day we take this thing apart, and I'm going to show you the part that I fabricated and how I make it work. This is the Armalite AR-17 12-gauge 2-shot shotgun. This thing is very light, being made mostly of aluminum. If you're not familiar with it, go back and look at some of my previous videos. Ian at Forgotten Weapons has an excellent video on this shotgun. He is a much better videographer than I will ever be. So the first thing we're going to do today is we are going to remove the barrel. I promise you complete disassembly. Maybe a bit of a long video, but bear with me. So we take this out. This is connected to the extension that is underneath this forearm. This forearm is splined, and it goes over this splined extension. And so out comes the extension. We've already done this part before, so just bear with me. We're going to get into some new and interesting details here shortly. A lot of threads, and it is out. Once again, this has a barrel extension and a rotating bolt like an AR. So to remove the barrel, I'm going to have to pull the bolt back just a little bit to unlock the bolt from the barrel extension. And once again, I'll answer the question. No, there's no steel liner inside this barrel. There is a steel barrel extension. This steel barrel extension does go into the aluminum barrel as far as the forcing cone, and there it ends according to my magnet test. The next thing we're going to need to do, we're going to need to drive this pin out. This pin holds in the trigger group and this feed assembly. So this is not too terribly difficult. Out it comes. Just a steel pin, as you can see. We're going to set that to the side where we won't lose it. Can't afford to lose any of these parts. They're made out of unobtainium. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to hold this part in while we lift out this trigger group. This is the trigger group. I have not had the trigger group apart. I don't know that I'm going to take the trigger group apart. I may at some point to see if I can improve the trigger on it a little bit. That's the hammer right there and the sear, and we're going to let it go. Getting back to this part, notice I have kept my thumb on it. There is a spring and a detent in here. Do you see it? You need to catch that angry little booger. Otherwise it will launch clear across your shop. Yes, it will. You're going to set that to the side. Set this to the side. Set this to the side. Someday when I can do it gracefully, I promise you I will make a video on putting this thing back together. Graceful being the key word. Next thing is I need to get this part out. If you look right here, there is a detent. Now when I do this, I'm going to catch that detent with this pick, and I'm going to pry in this direction. My hands are going to be in the way when I do it. I apologize for that, but that is what I am doing. I'm pushing back on the bolt a little bit so that this semicircular cutout in the frame lines up with the part. That part needs a little bit of clearance, so the bolt just needs to go a little bit to the rear, and boom, out it is. Pretty graceful, not too terribly difficult. Once again, bolt, recoil assembly. I'm not going to take this recoil assembly apart. I have no need to. We're going to set this part to the side. There is one thing I will mention. When you put this thing back together, this is the bolt catch right here. This is the last shot bolt hold open, I guess we'll call it. A bolt catch when the bolt travels all the way to the rear. This little hook right here catches it. It needs to be in this position when you reassemble that. Don't ask me how I know. That will drive you a little bit bonkers. Now the bolt. Promise you we'd take the bolt apart. This is an AR bolt. So we will start the same place you would start with any AR bolt, and we will take the firing pin out. This is not always so easy. Try and make it so y'all can see. Makes it a little harder for me to actually do it, but I'm trying to let y'all see what I'm doing. Well, that wasn't long enough now. Well, yes it was. There's our firing pin, and there's our firing pin spring, and we shall set those to the side. Once you do that, you can take this cam out. This is the cam, just like a cam on an AR-15 bolt. It rotates right here, and that's just enough for these lugs to get clearance. Whoa, what do we see here? Those who have seen my previous videos, we see a second extractor. So the way that this works is there are two extractors that hold this shell, and I'm going to show you this now because I'm not going to have it on video me reassembling it. This extractor has to be able to clear this ejector. See how it moves back and forth in that slot right there? If you look straight down, that means that this extractor has to be a little bit undercut at an angle like that. Just keep that in mind, because that will drive you bonkers when you're fine fitting this extractor. So the way this works is the bolt is, let's get that cam pin back in here. If this bolt is fully forward like that, this holds a shotgun shell like this. When the bolt travels to the rear, this extractor will hit that, make it come out the side like that. I'm not doing it right, but in any case, trust me, it works. It works. If you watch my video, you can see me actually extracting a snap cap out of this sucker. This is a live round. I wouldn't dare do that with the firing pin in it in my shop, but the firing pin is out and we are perfectly safe, and you can see that holds that nicely. One thing I did notice when I was cutting this part is, if you will notice, if I can focus, how close can I focus? If you'll notice, this extractor, bear with me here, I'm looking. This extractor is cut a little bit sharper right here. This one has a little bit of a negative rake to it, and the reason I figured I had to do that was because this thing has to be able to pry out of that extractor. So it has to be able to come out like that. I might have put maybe a little more positive rake, maybe a little sharper like this one, and that might extract a little bit better. That may be my downfall. I may need to make a new one of these. We shall see. I don't know until I fire it. So to get her apart, I don't see any need to take this one out today, but let me show you what I got in here. Well, I might want to take that one out just to show you what it should look like. Let's see here. We need a punch here, and we take this pin out. I had to find a spring. That is a spring from a AR-15 with a coil cut off of it. Focus. So if you notice that, talking about that spring, this ledge right here, my old attempts are getting in my way. This ledge right here is cut deliberately to capture that spring. and it took some tinkering to get that spring tension right. If you look right here, this is where this side has to be undercut for that ejector to ride next to it. I'm not quite confident. I should have left a little bit more meat in front this hole. I wish I hadn't cut it so tight. This is the little bit of negative rake that I'm talking about right here. I'm not sure if that's the correct term, but that's the term I'm using. If you don't like it, find another video on making an extractor for an AR-17. Good luck with that. So that is the part that I fabricated. So, what kind of tools did I use? Where's my Bridgeport? You want to see my machine shop that helped me fabricate up this little part in half a day. Let me show you my Bridgeport. This is my Bridgeport tooling right here. Let's see, I got some more. I got one of these fancy electric thingies right here with a whole set of these things right here, and a little doohickey to help me hold on to it. This is actually a really nice tool right here. This is parallel jaw vise, hand vise, and I absolutely love this. I've had this thing forever. I'm not exactly young. When I say forever, I mean forever. And then I also use some smaller metal files to fine-tune things. But that's what I cobbled it together with. If you look down here, you will see. First, I thought I might be able to cobble one together out of an extractor from a Winchester shotgun, and that was like zero chances of actually working. But it did serve some purpose in that it allowed me to put a piece in the hole and see how it was supposed to fit and get a better idea in my mind's eye what this is supposed to look like. This was my first attempt. It was actually a pretty good attempt. It may have worked, except I thought that this was focus. This area right here was just cut a little bit too thin, and as you can see, I was able to push it on the tabletop and bend this backwards, and so I didn't have a great deal of confidence in it. I didn't finish it. I started over. And what did I start over from? This is the material that I used. I went to Lowe's and I bought a piece of bar stock. As you can see, this is nothing special. I got this at Lowe's. There's the SKU in case you want to scan it. There you go. I'll hold it there for a second. It has the SKU number on it and the part numbers. And the reason I got this particular bar stock is because I actually brought the bolt with me to Lowe's, and I sat there and I fitted the bar stock. I tried to find a piece of bar stock that just fit perfectly right in there. That's that much less work that I've got to do. Cheating. I call it cheating. It's that piece of bar stock right there was, I believe I paid like less than $4 for this piece of bar stock, and there's enough metal in this piece of bar stock to make more extractors than I care to ever make in my life. What am I going to do with it now? I'm going to put it in my parts bin, and I've got some other bar stock laying around, and we'll just keep it all together. In any case, I promised you a video on how to take this sucker apart, and there it is. Someday I'll give you a video on how to put her all back together, but until I can do it gracefully, it ain't gonna be today. Take care. Bye.